How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the Weeb Lounge. I am Nick, and I apologize for missing a week of video because I was deathly ill last weekend, and it was bad. Let's just put it this way. I got my second dose finally, if you know what, and the side effects were so horrendous the whole weekend. Fever, chills, headache, all that stuff. I was just laid out. So there's really nothing I could do except speculate how I'm going to start working on this thing, and my God, this is going to be a bigger project than I thought. Now take a look at this beast so far. Now, I only have two pumps, these guys, right here and here, mounted onto 4 radiators, and these are big radiators. Okay, they are super freaking thick radiators, and that's on purpose, of course. Now, these new Veta rigs, whatever, the version 2s or whatever you want to call them, they're actually perfect for this. I take this, the little metal bracket, flip it around so it's the other way, the opposite way of what they originally want you to have it. Works perfect, and it works great to mount these radiators to. These radiators are very firmly mounted, and I bought some rubber feet to put on the very bottom of them so it does hit the table, but there's rubber feet giving it a nice little cushion. These 4 radiators are going to cool 8 3090s, and giving all the thermals and everything, that should be more than enough cooling, because it's going to be 1 radiator for every 2 cards. And I'm going to do a 4 loop and a 4 loop, so that each of these pumps are dealing with 4 video cards. That way they're not overwhelmed. And my God, just getting the radiators mounted was really kind of a pain, but once I figured out exactly how I need to put them down, it works good. Now, for whatever stupid reason, I can't put a fan here without finding some extra screws that I don't have. But I got one behind it pulling, so you got 2 pushing air on the bottom, 1 pulling up top. It's like that on all these, so there'll be plenty of airflow. Plus, this guy. This guy is blowing cold air directly onto this whole rig. So I'm going to be having cold air pushed here, fans pulling it in. We should be good in terms of thermals. Should be really good, actually. Because, like, one of these radiators is basically supposed to be able to take care of, like, an SLI setup and a CPU. So if I can't handle 2 3090s with just one of these big, thick, freaking radiators, then I must be doing something wrong or whatever. But the biggest task is getting every single one of these video cards changed over with the water blocks on them, which is just going to be a long, arduous task. But, like, originally what I was going to do is create one giant loop, right? I was going to have both of the pumps working in tandem to push all the water through and everything. And then I started thinking, you know what? Well, you know, what if something goes wrong, right? And of course, everything eventually will go wrong. And I was like, okay, well, wouldn't it be safer to do a loop of 4 and a loop of 4? So that way, if something happens to, like, this card right here, I could turn off this loop of 4 and the other 4 loop can actually keep going. Yeah, it made a little bit more sense and less downtime if needed. Now the idea, this thing has been running beautifully as is, but the idea is to get the water cooling taken care of, bump all the hash rates up even a little bit more. I mean, I wouldn't be doing the water cooling if I wasn't trying to get the hash rates up all kind of crazy. So, and of course the idea with pretty much all these rigs is to get them running and have them stay running indefinitely without me ever having to mess with them or anything. That's the ultimate goal. Now, all these other cards, I've gone through, I've replaced all the thermal pads in these, I've replaced all the thermal pads in these. The only ones I didn't touch are the MSI 3090s. I have 4 of these guys. It's the only ones that I have not upgraded, and that's mainly because they're running pretty good as is. They don't really need it. And for whatever reason, when I paused mining on all these, this one just shuts down. Something's weird with this rig, and I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to tinker around with that guy. Something is just not quite right with him, so I don't know what it is, but it's just weird. As long as when I turn it on to start mining, it goes, it's fine, but otherwise, kind of goofy. The only weird thing is, let's see, what is it? Rig number 2, this guy. All right, this guy all 6 of these video cards are the same, right? And I replaced all the thermal pads exactly the same. But there's 2 of them in here where the GPU runs at about 70, 71 degrees Celsius, which is pretty warm. It's fine, but it's warm. Where all the rest of them run in like the mid-50s. That doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. What it tells me is that the heat sink is not quite mounted on the GPU, but I've redone both of them. And I can't find any difference, so I'm just kind of living with it, unless there's some kind of water cooling thing I can do with this in the future, which I probably won't do because, my God. The only reason I did the water cooling on this, guys, is because of that FedEx mess up. I've gone over that a few times where I had all these extra components, and I figured, okay, instead of just wasting the components, I'll go all in and do it. Oh, man. Well, the cool thing is, like, each of these radiators was only about 50 bucks, right? They weren't that much. The pumps, well, what were the pumps? Like 130, 100, something. They were fairly cheap. And each of the blocks, the water blocks, which I have a ridiculous number of them right here, these guys, those are about 160 a pop. So, yes, overall, it's fairly expensive, but it's not that bad, really, if you think about it. It's okay. Now, you see the stupid little 6 rig under here? See, that one's been completely dismantled. That's not going. That's got 2 random cards in it that like to overheat regardless of what I do to them. And I got another crap one over here in my test bench. The 6 rigs are gone. All right? I'm going to be live streaming at some point this weekend or at some time or whatever, and I'm going to be putting together 2 more of the 8 rigs. The old school ones, exactly like that guy there. And I say old school because the old ones have this little flimsy kind of thing going on here, whereas the new ones have that rigid frame, like with the water cooling rig, the metal one. I like the metal one better, but here's the reason why. The EVGA cards, they got plenty of room in there, right? Plenty of room. But the Zotac cards do not. They butt up against this thing. The Asus one butts up against it. The MSI ones butt up against it. A lot of the 3080 and 3090 cooling shrouds, they just are too big and they hit the dang thing. With this, there's enough flexibility to where I can mount them. It's fine. Everything's all nice and dandy. But unfortunately, with the sturdy ones, if I try to put those cards in this, there's no give or play with this. So I have to use the shorter cards. And thankfully, the EVGA ones, they're more reasonable on their coolers, and it's not as big of a profile there. So that comes in handy. So I'll be building 2 more rigs over there. I've got 2 more server power supplies, and I'm actually going to order more. Once we get more Bitcoin rolling in from Ethereum for mining this stuff, we're going to use those funds to basically replace all of these 1600 watt power supplies, these Chinese brand ones. Now they've been working good, but I'm limited. Like, all the plugs that I have available on one of those power 33080s, right? That's the most I can get out of it. Where if I use the server power supply, 1, it's more efficient. 2, cables are easier to manage. I can do an even 50-50 split, which will also keep the server power supplies at like prime efficiency. And overall it's a lot easier. And plus, hopefully, I get the sound down a little bit, because my God, none of these are mining currently. I turned them off so I could do the video with a little less sound. If these things were going full tilt, I would be screaming into this microphone trying to and you guys would be just annoyed all the hell with all the grinding in the background, which you can still hear right now. Eventually I'll hopefully get that down a little bit, because another reason why it is loud is because every single fan on these guys are running at 100%. I want to be able to tone that down, but of course it's all about thermals. So by default, I turn them all at 100%, let them go, and then eventually, when I start tweaking a little even more, I'll start scaling them down a little bit, try to save on electricity, try to get the noise, the decibel level down. Hopefully, at some point. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button, guys. This thing is going to be ridiculous. I don't know if anybody else out there has done something like this. You know, if I'm the first, let me know. If there is somebody that's already done a crazy setup like this, post it down below. I know I've seen like a 3070 rig that was water cooled, maybe like a very small 3080. I think it was like a 4 rig or something like that. Nobody has gone absolutely insane like this that I know of for a whole 8 rig 3090 for the win 3 crazy thing with stupid amount of radiators and pumps and stupid. It's all stupid, and I'm probably stupid for doing it because you guys know the story behind that. I was kind of pushed into it just because FedEx. I hate FedEx, if you haven't figured it out yet. We'll catch you in the next video.